got me singing like na 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 na. Every day's like my iPod stuck on replay.
Welcome back, everybody. In today's video, I'm just kind of gonna go over a few things with plugins. In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up permissions. I'm going to show you a few resources you can use to find the permissions file. I'm also going to show you a few websites that you can go to find plugins for your server. I'm sure you're here just because, you're either new to Unturned server hosting and you want to know how to do permissions, and that's what I'm here to help you with. So let's get straight into this, guys. I'm going to take you to the first website to find your plugins. Okay, so here we are with our first plugin website. Most of these plugins are Rocket Mod and Open Mod. The majority are Rocket Mod. Here you'll find a decent amount of plugins. I personally don't use it all that much, but a lot of people do, and there is plenty of plugins here that you can use. Most common one would be U Essentials, but I'm pretty sure this one does not work. So if you're planning on using this, do not use it. There's a better one on GitHub that we will later on use in this video, setting up permissions. But here I just kind of wanted to show you a little bit of plugins that they have. The website is unturnedstore.com. Again, it's a free plugin source. A lot of these are free. Some of them are paid, just like Discord reports one right here. Some of these just be careful using because they won't work. A lot of them are outdated. So if you do end up having trouble with it and getting error messages, you can join my Discord if you'd like to, talk about it if you have any problems. But other than that, let's get on to our next source. Okay, here we are with our second plugin source, my personal favorite, which is GitHub. GitHub is a free website that, a lot of developers like to post their plugins. And it's not only for plugins, of course, but it's for plenty of other things. But I always use it for plugins. It's best to find plugins. If you are planning on using U Essentials just like me for permissions, it has plenty of commands, like /warp, TPA, plenty more, like /i, /v, /god, stuff like that. But GitHub, like I said, it's not for anybody that's like necessarily new, but then again, you'll find a lot of plugins on this website. So if you'd like to download U Essentials and do permissions with me later on in the video, you can go ahead and download it right here. If you don't know how to download these, I can show you just really quick. You're going to want to head to releases and download the DLL file. You don't need any of the source code. None of that is, useful to you unless you're, I'm pretty sure, editing it. And most of the time you have to, do a pull request. But, okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to our third and final resource for plugins. Okay, and here we are with our third plugin source, which would be imperialplugins.com. This source isn't only for, Unturned, it also supports Rust as well. But a lot of these, as you can see at the top, is Rocket Mod and Open Mod. This is my second favorite source for plugins. A lot of these work and a lot of them don't, so it's kind of a hit or miss. So I suggest always reading reviews when buying one of these. It's like this one, still works. But just, again, be careful when buying some of these because some of them do not work. A lot of these ones are paid plugins. And, paid plugins are always better than free ones. But, yeah, the third one, I'm going to go over a little bit how to download these here in the next few minutes. And I'm going to show you guys how to put the plugins in, install them to your servers. So, here's this one, imperialplugins.com. And let's move on to doing permissions. Okay, guys, so first of all, I just want to go over a few things real quick. Your panel would not always look like mine. I use GTX as a preferred hosting service. But I mean, some panels do have exactly, what I have right here. If it's not the same setup, don't panic. You'll just search around for a little bit and you'll find the exact same things that I'm looking at. But first of all, I'm going to go over, the basics of, the file manager and learning how to make your way around that. I'm going to show you how to, edit permissions through the panel instead of using what I normally use, which is WinSCP. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. Okay, guys, we're here. Here in the configuration files is where you're going to find most of your server management. Your plugin source. How to edit your server. It's all going to be in this section right here. I'm going to go over file manager here in a little bit later in the video. But in configuration files, this is where you're going to define your server name, your password, who's the owner of the server. You're going to be able to edit the difficulty of your server, like the zombies, etc. But let's go ahead and get started into this. Config.json. We're going to kind of go over this briefly because this is not what this video is about. This is just kind of a little brief description. Description full. It's kind of showing the full description of what your server is, and this will pop up when a player clicks on your server. It'll show on the bottom right before they press join. The description hint, it'll show up in the server list right under your server's name. So, I mean, you always kind of want to give a little hint what your server is. It's the whole name of it. Thumbnail and icon, those are pretty self-explanatory themselves. But let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Workshop download. You guys are always going to want to know this. Here is where you're going to put any workshop mod that you want to be installed on your server. So right under file IDs, yours will look a little bit different. Yours will most likely look similar to this. Give me a minute. Okay, yours will look like this. And I highly suggest creating a collection with all your mods inside of it, so you only gotta put one ID in there. But I mean, all this is kind of really unnecessary. The ignore children file, I kind of don't want to go over that in this video, but why not? Ignore children file is, say you have a collection of mods and there's a mod in there that you don't want your server to use, you can put the ID of that mod in this section right there, and your server will completely ignore that and basically mark it out of your server. But okay, I kind of explained some things in here. Also, I didn't mention this earlier, but if you are new to server hosting, I highly suggest that you use RocketMod. It's very user-friendly. OpenMod, I wouldn't suggest, as it is more complicated and, more experienced users use that. It's an open source plugin downloader. So again, if you're brand new to server hosting, I'd download RocketMod. But alright guys, let's go ahead and go into File Manager and learn the rest of this. Okay guys, we're back. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of this. I'm not going to go over all of this. So I'll make another video, like I said, on most of these other things later on. But for right now, I'm just kind of going to go over, permissions, how to get there, how to edit them, stuff like that. So in here, you're going to want to go to servers, saved. You want to head to Rocket, and then plugins. Okay. Once you are here in plugins, this is where you are going to place your DLL file. So earlier when I showed you, whatever plugin you want, and you want to add it to your server, you want to download that DLL file. The DLL file is basically a file telling your computer what plugin it is. Well, telling the server what plugin it is. You'll place that into this section under plugins. You'll place it into here. You'll restart your server. Once you restart your server, you'll get one of these files here, and that's where your configuration file will be, where you can mess with the plugin and you can add stuff and all that good stuff. But I mean, Also, be careful when installing plugins, as sometimes you can be missing a library file. Um, Half the time it'll be the O Harmony file, or it could be a Rocket region file. Those are the two main files that most people always forget to put in their libraries. So I mean, just always watch out for that because it's a very common mistake. Okay, let's move on. Okay, guys, we are back in the configuration file section. I'm going to show you where it is one last time. In here is where you are going to be able to access your permissions, your commands, the Rocket config, and stuff like that you will not need. So, I mean, anything beyond that point you won't need. Those are just kind of there. But the commands and permissions are the two main things that you're going to be looking at when editing anything for your server. Let's get into this. So, first of all, this may all look confusing to you. I did a lot of this. I honestly should have probably, made this a clean swipe. But, I'm going to go over a few things for this. So, when installing a plugin, most of the time, they will have a wiki that leads you to the permission that a player needs. I want you guys to be very careful when creating permissions, as it is capitalization sensitive. So a lot of the time, right here, the P is capital, right? If I were to put this as P, like a lowercase p, it would ruin this entire thing, and you'll have problems trying to do any of these commands. So, just be careful when editing these. Also, I'm going to go ahead and show you the commands file. This is where, so if you install a plugin, it'll then go to your server commands file half the time. I wouldn't say all the time because it doesn't always go here. Most of the time, it will go here and show you that the commands are enabled on your server. You can also disable commands here if you'd like. So if you don't want, like balance, you can disable it and put the value to false, and it'll stop it from working on your server. There's nothing really important here that you need to know, because this won't really help with permissions except for vanilla. So, or Rocket Mod. Rocket Mod comes with its own separate, commands. So like spy or, God and stuff like that. It's a Rocket Mod thing. It comes with it. So again, most of this will be useless except for vanilla commands. Let's go back into the permissions file. Okay, so when creating permissions, like I said, you will have, like if you use GitHub, to download a plugin. Most of the time, they will have a wiki to show you what permissions they need. Like as you can see here, essentials, you need essentials.command.kit in order for the command to work. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this real quick. Okay guys, so we are here back in the essentials. So in here, like I said, I'm speaking about a wiki and stuff like that. As you can see down here at the bottom, it says Wiki U Essentials. Basically, what the Wiki U Essentials is it shows you the permissions that each player needs, and what the command does, and different usages that it can have, and it tells you the description. And mind you, not all plugins have this. For the love of God, understand that, because when I was first new to it, I thought every plugin had this, and I was stressing myself out over it. But you can always ask questions to people, regardless of how rude they are, because some people can be rude about these kind of things. Just learn you're not being a burden. Asking for help is always the key when you're new to something. Like I said, it'll tell you, what permission they need, like right here. This permission is essentials.command.delete warp. And in game, you can do delete warp and then the warp name. So when creating a permission, you're going to want to take this right here, and you're going to take it into your permissions here. Right here. So when creating a new permission, you're always going to want to open it, right? Okay. So mind you don't got to do all this stuff that I'm doing. I'm just kind of starting from new. But say if I wanted my default group to, have this permission where they can delete a warp, but you don't ever want to give a default group this permission. Okay. This is the permission that they need to do it. You also want to close this off, by the way. Don't leave that open. So once that is closed off, this will now work in game. Also, I kind of want to go over this a tiny bit. I'm not going to explain it all. Sometimes be careful when changing the color for your permissions. Like, see how mine is a hex color? And this one is just the color white. I've had this problem before, and it's not common, but it has happened before. It will cause your permissions not to work. So if you're having a problem with your permissions not working, just always, check for that error. Try to see if you can find another color that you can use or want to use. Priority is basically saying, hey server, I want this group to be the first group to gain all these permissions. Anybody that joins, I want them to have these permissions. And if I change, like in this one, brother, this is one of my donation rates. Since it's 99 and this one's 100, it's saying, hey server, my other group, the default group, they have all these permissions. And my donation group, I want them to have these permissions too. I need you to focus on this group after default. So anything that default has, I want brother to have. And you can also put your own permissions for brother, and default won't get it because the priority is 99. As long as it is not 100, and mind you, you can't go over 100. It is 100 to 1. 100 to 1. Just remember that. So if you have 100 goddamn ranks, you're kind of screwed. Okay. Members, this is adding a member to your group. So if you want a member inside of your donation group, just kind of write this down, just kind of copy it, I guess. Honestly, I could post a lot of this in the description just in case you guys want to take this layout and, do it for yourself. Whatever you do, don't delete any of this. So groups from up, don't delete it, okay? So if you're going to take this, make sure groups and up, you do not delete. Everything else you can copy, and edit it yourself if you'd like. And these numbers are Steam 64 IDs. I'm not going to go over that in this video. That will be for some other video, or you can search it up online. It's not hard to get. You just, copy a player's Steam profile, and the last few numbers are their Steam ID. Again, also as well, not all things will have a permission like essentials. Essentials.command.home. This is an essentials command. It is in the wiki. Discord, donate, balance, pay, sell door. These are all different plugins. These don't require a plugin name. Essentially, a lot of them will just be the command name, and you put it in the permission, and it'll work just fine. So don't let this scare you. It's always going to be a learning curve whenever starting something new like this. What else can we go over? What else? Prefix, I guess we can go over. Prefix, if you know what this means, it is something that is before a name. So, like mine right here is brother. I have the prefix brother in front of it. So anybody that has this rank, they will join. It'll say brother and then their name. Suffix is the exact same thing, just at the end of their name. So it'll be, like user 125 and then brother right after. Priority, parent group. We need to go over parent group. So parent group is basically like priority. It's telling the server, hey, default has these commands. I want my brother rank to have these exact same commands. I want you to be the parent. You know, it's basically what it's doing. And you know, you can. I'm not sure if you can change it. I haven't done it myself. But I mean, this one is default, and it's kind of just doing the priority. But I can't really explain this without making it confusing for you guys. Just take parent group as priority. You know, if you're gonna put this one as 99, make sure the parent group is default. If you're gonna put this one as 98, make sure the parent group is brother. Make sure you're using the ID from the permission as well, because that is the ID of it. It's basically like numbers, just letters, the ID. So just get that clear with. But I think that's going to be a wrap of this section. I'm going to go on and move to how to use a better. Okay, we are back, guys, and this is going to be something new to you. If you are server hosting and you are constantly putting in plugins or switching things out, I'd highly suggest this application. It is WinSCP. I talked about it, you know, at the beginning of the video. It's something that I always use. It's a very, very, very useful application. I love it. Basically, what it does is instead of using File Manager inside of your, you know, panel, like right here, you can connect your server to WinSCP and use everything that's in this file manager. Basically, just less slow and easier to move things around. In WinSCP, you can access permissions and commands. You can access plugins and libraries. Now you can literally access everything that, you know, your panel offers. I'm gonna go over how to install a plugin really quick. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna get a plugin I want and show you guys. Okay, guys, I'm back. I got my plugins that I want to use. I just want to go over something really quick before we get into this. So whenever installing a plugin, half the time it will come inside of a folder, and the folder will be compressed so your computer can download it. I just want it to be known that you need to extract all the files. Like this one right here, you just want to go to extract all and extract it to your download directory. From there, you're basically good. You know, we'll close this out. I'm going to show you guys how to use this completely. So, when installing a plugin for your server, you're going to want to go over to Rocket, and you're going to want to go into Plugins. Plugins is where you're going to place your DLL file. Like we talked in the beginning of the video, you know, well, actually, not in the beginning of the video. We talked about where to place your DLL files and your library files, and you know, what you can be missing. Here's where you're going to place your plugins. I'm going to go over it really quick on how to use it in WinSCP. It is the exact same way in File Manager on your panel. It is nothing different. It's just a little bit slower, so don't panic. It's all the same. But okay, let's go ahead and get into this. So I got my plugin here, which is Auto Turn Off. And this plugin, you know, basically turns off lights whenever a player leaves the server. So if I want this plugin on my server, all I gotta do is drag it to the plugins folder. That's all. It's as simple as that. You know, I got another plugin over here. You see how mine says plugins? I'm gonna drag it on over to plugins. This is also perfect because I can show you guys how to use libraries as well. Libraries, you're gonna want to take all of this right here, drag it over here. Oh, access denied. That's fine. We'll skip a few of these. It'll, I'm sure, give me an error in the console, and we can figure it out from there. Okay, now that all these are, you know, transferred over to mine, I'm gonna take all this out. That's basically it. Now, okay, guys, I'm back. Started my server. As you can see, where I put my DLL files, it created another folder with that plugin that I put in. So you can see Imperial plugin folder here and Auto Turn. These are the folders that you can go inside of and essentially customize them, and you can, you know, make them do different things if that's what the plugin offers. Like Auto Turn Off, you can do certain things with it. This is a new one to me, so I haven't really played with it yet. But yeah, so I mean, it's pretty easy. It's nothing too complicated. If you get any files, any errors inside your console, feel free to join my Discord. I'll gladly help you anytime. My Discord will be in the description. If you have any other questions about this video or permissions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. Other than that, I hope this video helped you guys out. And if you can, please leave a like and subscribe. Next video, I'll most likely go over some certain unturned errors that you may run into when trying to join a server or, trying to do anything in general. But other than that, guys, that's all I have to say. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Later.